Have you ever caught yourself feeling jealous when someone else succeeds? Do you ever scroll through social media and feel a quiet sting inside, like you're not doing enough, not achieving enough, not being enough? What if I told you that jealousy is not about them, it's about you? It's a signal, a sign that your foundation of confidence needs strengthening. Before we dive deep, I want to remind you, if self-mastery, personal growth, and living with inner power matter to you, make sure to subscribe and join this community. Every step we take here is about building a stronger, unshakable version of you. Let's break down the cure for jealousy, not with quick fixes, but by building something that lasts: unshakable confidence. 1. Rooting confidence in self-respect. Confidence is not arrogance, and it's not loudness. True confidence starts with self-respect. If you don't respect yourself, your boundaries, your choices, your values, you will always look outward for validation. You'll always wonder who's doing better, who's further ahead, and who's more admired. But when self-respect becomes your anchor, you stop chasing approval and start standing tall in your own worth. You are no longer moved by the shifting winds of opinion, because the roots you've cultivated within yourself run deeper than the surface judgments of others. This kind of confidence doesn't demand attention, it doesn't scream for recognition, and it doesn't collapse under criticism. It flows quietly but firmly from the knowledge that you are aligned with your own principles. Respect is not about what you achieve, it's about how you live. Do you keep the promises you make to yourself? Do you treat yourself with dignity, even when no one is watching? Every small act of self-respect is a brick in the foundation of confidence. When you wake up on time because you said you would, when you choose honesty over convenience, when you protect your values even at personal cost, you are training yourself to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, jealousy struggles to find a place to live. Because jealousy is rooted in insecurity, in the belief that someone else's life has stolen something from yours. But with self-respect, you recognize that your worth is not diminished by another's success. Their victory doesn't take away your dignity. Your path remains yours. Many people chase confidence by external means. They think it comes from status, wealth, attention, or accolades. But external confidence is brittle. It shatters when those things are taken away. If your self-image rests on applause, then silence becomes unbearable. If it rests on comparison, then every person ahead of you becomes a threat. But internal confidence, grounded in self-respect, endures. Even when circumstances change, even when people misunderstand you, even when life strips away comforts, that inner confidence remains. Because it was never built on sand, it was built on stone. True self-respect also demands discipline. It is not simply about liking yourself or speaking kindly to yourself, though those are important. It is about refusing to betray yourself. It is about recognizing when your actions are beneath your standards and having the courage to correct them. Without this discipline, what we call confidence becomes empty self-indulgence. Real confidence comes from living in a way that you would be proud to admit in the clear light of day. It is the quiet power of knowing that your actions match your principles. And that alignment between who you say you are and how you actually live is the deepest source of confidence there is. 2. Breaking the need for comparison. Comparison is the thief of peace, and yet we all fall into it. Why? Because our minds are wired to measure progress by looking at others. From childhood, we learn through contrast. Who's taller? Who's faster? Who scored higher? Society reinforces it. grades, rankings, salaries, likes, and followers. But here's the truth. Comparison only makes sense if you're running the same race. And you're not. Your race is your own. Your timeline is unique. Your journey cannot be measured by someone else's mile markers. Imagine judging a tree by how quickly it blooms compared to another. One might flower in spring, another in late summer. Neither is inferior. They simply follow different rhythms of growth. The same is true for you. The real danger of comparison is not just wasted energy, but distortion. When you look at someone else's success, you are rarely seeing the full picture. You see the highlight, the polished result, the moment of triumph. You don't see the failures, the sacrifices, the sleepless nights, the doubts they wrestled with. And yet, you measure your raw reality against their edited display. This is why comparison so often leads to despair. It pits your unfiltered humanity against a curated illusion. But when you remember that every life carries hidden struggles, you stop idolizing and start humanizing. You begin to see that everyone is carrying weight, and that no one's path is as effortless as it appears. The cure isn't to ignore others, it's to redefine the game. Instead of asking, "Am I doing better than them?" ask, "Am I doing better than yesterday's me?" The only fair competition is with the person you were last week, last month, last year. This shift is powerful because it transforms comparison from a source of envy into a source of growth. When you measure yourself against your own past, every small step forward counts. Progress becomes personal, not relative. And the reward is no longer the defeat of others, but the cultivation of your own potential. When you master this shift, jealousy becomes irrelevant. You no longer need to win against others because you've chosen a higher standard, becoming the best version of yourself. And strangely enough, this perspective also frees you to admire others genuinely. Their achievements are no longer threats, they are inspirations, reminders of what is possible. When you stop measuring your life against theirs, you can celebrate their victories without diminishing your own. This freedom to admire without envy, to grow without competing, is one of the greatest gifts of breaking the need for comparison.
3. Building skills that give you certainty. Jealousy often hides in weakness. When you doubt your own ability, you see others as threats. Their success feels like a mirror reflecting your inadequacy. But when you invest in yourself, when you build skills that give you certainty, something shifts. You no longer watch from the sidelines, you play the game with confidence. Skill breeds assurance, and assurance kills envy. Because once you know that you are capable, you stop worrying about who else is capable too. Their strength does not overshadow yours because you trust the ground you stand on. Think about it. The person who practices every day doesn't fear competition. The musician who rehearses tirelessly is not shaken when another performs well. The athlete who trains consistently is not consumed by the success of their rival. The leader who sharpens their skills doesn't envy the success of others. They respect it because they know their own strength. Every hour you spend learning, practicing, and improving adds another layer of certainty to your life. And certainty is the death of jealousy. It is hard to resent others when you are fully occupied with the joy of mastery, with the satisfaction of growth, with the knowledge that your effort is bearing fruit. Building skills also changes your relationship to failure. When you are inexperienced, failure feels like a verdict. It convinces you that you are unworthy. But when you are committed to learning, failure becomes feedback. Each mistake teaches, each setback strengthens. And in this mindset, other people's success doesn't diminish you, it guides you. You start asking, what can I learn from them, instead of, why not me? This is the subtle but crucial shift that transforms envy into fuel for progress. Their excellence becomes a teacher, not a rival. In the end, the real antidote to jealousy is not simply positive thinking. It is competence. It is the deep knowledge that you are prepared, capable, and resilient. Confidence without skill is fragile bravado, but confidence built on mastery is unshakable. It cannot be taken away by circumstances or competition because it is rooted in something real. And the more you cultivate this certainty, the less room jealousy has to take root. You will not need to diminish others to feel strong because your strength will already speak for itself. And when you live from that place, you can admire others, compete fairly, and grow freely without being poisoned by envy.
4. Standing firm in who you are. There's nothing more powerful than a person who knows who they are and refuses to compromise their identity for approval. When you stand firm in your values, your mission, and your character, comparison loses its grip. You're no longer shaken by what others are doing because you're not living their story, you're living yours. Most people spend their lives trying to fit into molds built by someone else's expectations. They bend, they fold, they shrink, hoping that by becoming smaller, they will finally be accepted. But the truth is, the world does not need another copy. It needs authenticity. Standing firm in who you are means resisting the temptation to trade your uniqueness for comfort. It means choosing the hard path of honesty over the easy road of conformity. And once you taste the freedom of authenticity, you realize there is no prize in pretending to be anyone else. Standing firm is not about stubbornness, it's about alignment. It means your choices line up with your convictions. A stubborn person resists for the sake of resistance. A rooted person resists because they know what matters most. There's a difference between clinging to ego and holding fast to principle. When you are aligned, your actions feel lighter. You don't wake up wondering if today you'll betray yourself for applause, because you've already decided that approval isn't your currency. You measure success by integrity, not by noise. That kind of steadiness creates an unshakable core, and it is from this core that true confidence flows. Confidence doesn't shout or demand. It simply is. It radiates in the quiet way you carry yourself, in the certainty that you have nothing to prove. And most importantly, it means your confidence is not negotiable. Too many people trade away pieces of themselves for temporary validation. They hand out discounts on their worth, hoping someone will finally buy into them. But when you are rooted, your value is set. It does not rise or fall with someone's opinion. Your confidence comes from the fact that you are standing on something solid, your truth. Jealousy cannot thrive in this soil. Envy requires a shaky identity. It feeds on insecurity. But when your foundation is deep, you see others' success not as a threat, but as a different expression of possibility. Their light doesn't dim yours. It simply reminds you that the world has room for many suns. And so you stand, not in arrogance, but in assurance. You know who you are. And once you know, you cannot unknow. That is the kind of power that cannot be stolen. 5. Moving forward without fear. At the root of jealousy is fear. Fear of being left behind. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being forgotten. These fears whisper in quiet moments, convincing you that someone else's gain is your loss, that their progress is a mirror exposing your lack. But fear is a liar. It magnifies shadows and disguises possibilities as threats. The antidote is not to argue with fear, but to outpace it. The moment you take consistent steps toward your vision, fear weakens. Fear thrives in stillness. It needs stagnation to grow. Action suffocates it. The great cure is motion, tiny, daily movements that prove to yourself that you are not stuck. Every step forward is an act of rebellion against fear's control. Moving forward without fear doesn't mean you feel no fear. It means you refuse to let fear decide your future. Courage is not the absence of trembling. It is choosing to walk with trembling legs anyway. Many people wait until they feel ready, but readiness is a mirage. If you wait until the fear vanishes, you will wait forever. The real transformation happens when you act despite the pounding in your chest. You keep learning. You keep growing. You keep moving. And as you move, you discover that fear is less of a wall and more of a mist. It only looks impenetrable until you step through it. Each action clears the fog, making space for vision. And in this space, jealousy has no room to breathe because you are too engaged in building to keep looking sideways. When your life has momentum, jealousy fades away. Momentum is a kind of shield. It protects you from distraction because your energy is consumed by creation. You stop obsessing over what others are doing because you are too busy cultivating your own field. You water your ideas. You nurture your growth. You celebrate your small wins. And slowly, your life takes shape. And here's the secret. Progress doesn't need to be spectacular to be powerful. Even the smallest forward steps compound. One brick a day builds a fortress over time. When you realize this, you stop envying others' castles and start laying your own stones. That is the liberation, knowing that your future is not written by fear, but by your faith in movement. And so you move. Sometimes clumsy, sometimes hesitant, but always forward, because forward is the only way freedom is found. So here's the truth. Jealousy will always knock on your door, but it's your choice whether you let it in. With self-respect, with freedom from comparison, with skills that feel certainty, with identity rooted in who you are, and with fearless forward motion, you build unshakable confidence. And when confidence takes over, jealousy has no place to hide. If this message spoke to you, don't forget to subscribe and stay connected. Together, we're not just talking about confidence, we're building it, brick by brick, day by day, until nothing and no one can shake the foundation of who you are.